Right, what an intro. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I must say, this is one of those topics that a lot of people that I talk to find it difficult to understand, and I'm really looking forward to this because we have the right kind of people that deal with these kind of things, and they will definitely unpack it for us, particularly for the African continent. Just as a way of giving you an example of what I'm talking about, a lot of people don't want to talk about this 4IR thing in South Africa because of many reasons. Now, and one of those is that a lot of people question the fact that, or at least there's this question, can Africa deliver on these things? I'm talking data, AI, blockchain, the topic that we will be covering today. So, and I always say that this is a myth. And to get the sense of that, you have to listen to what Ian will be talking to us about from a Standard Bank. He will really amaze us in terms of what is happening in the African continent, and particularly in South Africa, in as far as blockchain in the banking sector. And Adam here will talk about, how businesses, our startups, are already there and are already doing amazing stuff within the continent, in particular in South Africa. And Anda also has some really cool things to share with us from an academic institution's point of view. So I'm looking forward to that part of the conversation. So Ian, maybe as a way of introducing this whole discussion about blockchain in Africa, do you want to talk to us about what does this mean for the African continent? Why should we engage in this particular technology for the continent and particularly the country?
Great, thank you very much, Wesley. So what we've seen in Standard Bank is that what we need across Africa at a 10,000 feet view is governance. So to bring trust, I've heard today in quite a few panel discussions, people spoke about trust, and that still remains the underlying benefit of a distributed ledger. A lot of people don't understand what blockchain is. Lots of people read up on it, but I don't think they understand it. And what we are working on in Africa is to enable communities to connect. So I think the connectivity across Africa is essential. If you look at the free trade agreement, stop me at any time if I'm talking too much. But I think to understand that we've had an accounting system for many years, that blockchain actually is a shared ledger that brings transparency and it brings efficiencies, and we shouldn't actually be using blockchain to solve old legacy problems, but we should focus on looking at a blockchain technology as something where you need to link it to the business case. So the intersection where business cases and the technology comes together is where the sweet spot is. That's actually very important. So across Africa, we need collaboration. We've heard that this morning as well. So we've got people in a camp that says everything must be decentralized. We spoke about it earlier. And then you've got people that say, no way, they're not going to touch this. If you look at the CVVC report across Africa and what regulators are saying. But the opportunity of blockchain, and if you can recognize the potential, is to actually collaborate at all levels of society. This is not something that's going to be implemented and run across big companies. They will get lots of efficiencies. But the thing here is you want consensus. You want lots of people to be able to take ownership of their lives and ownership of things that belongs to them, like clean drinking water, dignity, the ability to participate on platforms. Lots of people today across Africa are prevented to get access to medical services. We heard it this morning. And the thing is, we're struggling to store data securely. And if you really, you will find all the naysayers. And I'm in a bank, so I'm quite balanced in my view between the go all the way, don't go at all. Yeah. Anything in life that's worth following takes time. We all know that blockchain is the next phase or development in the internet that was shot down 20 years ago. So I think if we first focus on research, as Caitlin said, and education to get an understanding, not merely sharing knowledge. To have knowledge is not understanding. Yeah. And a lot of the debates that I go into in blockchain when I position use cases is to I don't want to convince people. If you don't understand it, then it's maybe better that you know what I mean. So,
No, for
long
sure.
answer.
And what I often say is that we have to think about real issues in the country, in use cases that can help us appreciate the value. Let's take, for example, the something that's on everybody's head right now, the whole issue of the money that was found of the leader of the country. And the question I ask, do you think that would have been possible if we had blockchain implemented already in the country? Anyone?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on which timeline you're talking. So, like, if you're talking the right now, where decentralized technology kind of lets everyone see what you do, where all the money's flowing, which is kind of a scary notion that people aren't really used to. But then there's also technologies like Tornado, which you can put cryptocurrency through and it'll scatter it in multiple wallets and kind of hide that. So I think there are ways to get around it, but I think today it's going to the future. I think people are going to prefer transparency, and people aren't going to at all be able to get away with it.
Exactly. So we can't wait for that world where everything is out there for everyone to see. But I think one of the key examples of what I can refer to as a great example of progress in as far as the space is concerned is around banking, if I can put it that way. And Ian, you have maybe some few things that you've done in this space, particularly with the Reserve Bank. I've been saying that the Reserve Bank has done something that we all need to celebrate in as far as showing what is possible with blockchain. Do you want to maybe talk to that together with Anna?
I think we're very privileged in South Africa and in a few African countries where the regulator are actually engaging with multiple partners, not only banks, also crypto asset service providers, to say, listen, we're not going to stifle innovation, but let's engage and get something that's regulated, traceable, and that can bring trust to people, that we can leverage this very, very efficient new rails. And we work quite closely with the central bank on PK, Project Coca 2, on a CBDC, but also tokenizing a SARP debenture, which is a financial instrument. And the SARP and the JSE and all the banks saw actually, if you tokenize a financial instrument, you're integrating the custody, the pricing, all the things that we typically do today in sequential order with lots of different people. You can integrate, makes it very, very powerful. But we also realize that the policies and the regulations will have to be rewritten. That people have got to accept, because anti-money laundering and KYC will always remain very important. And terrorist financing. And then that evolved into us now working on a stable coin. So a stable coin, for people that don't know, it's still running on exactly the same rails. But I'm going to use BNY Mellon and the USDC as an example, the US dollar coin. That's actually fully collateralized at a bank, and that's US dollars representing each token that's issued to facilitate cross-border transactions, is actually audited. And if you have that token, you can go to the bank like a bond or a financial instrument and get it redeemed. But what it does, the power of that, is it facilitates seamless settlement. And Algorands here and Adira, the new generation blockchains or ledgers, will cost you about 1.5 cents per transaction, whether you pay away R1 billion or 10 Rand. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you merge two worlds and open finance, you will have some of the inefficiencies, but you can bring the best of the old and the best of the new world together to speed up the implementation of these payment rails. That will facilitate SMEs across Africa to do imports and exports, because it lowers the barriers to entry. And the other thing that it does, back to the Africa Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement. I always struggle, it's a very long acronym. But you want to track and trace soft commodities going cross-border, make sure that it's quality. But the most important thing that people forget is that pricing across Africa, to have an exchange that gives you observable prices for potatoes, any produce you can think of. If you've got that exchange and you can track traces across a transparent ledger across Africa, it allows lots of small farmers to also participate. That doesn't mean that's anti-competitive. It just facilitates fair pricing and good quality reach everybody, similar to medical supplies.
Sure. I must say, whenever I hear about what the Reserve Bank is doing there, I really get excited, but I'm sure you'll tell us more. I don't know if Anna, you want to add more to that as well, and perhaps add to what, from an academic point of view, what are universities doing to make sure that we have innovative companies, startups that come out of this environment that can really solve these challenges for us?
Yes, definitely. So just to go back on what Ian was saying, education is very important. The worst thing is speaking to someone about blockchain who knows nothing about it, who's so dismissive at everything you're saying, and sort of trying to tie it up with cryptocurrencies when the two actually exist separately and coexist as well. So from our side, we work very closely with the masters in fintech at UCT, the first one on the continent, and there a lot of the modules revolve around blockchain and different use cases. So at the hub, we're actually the pilot project for Algorand's university academic centers of excellence all over the world. So that also goes to show you the potential that Web3 and blockchain has on the continent. And I feel like the African continent needs blockchain as much as blockchain needs the African continent, because I know in telecommunications, which is what I worked in before, we always speak about leapfrogging, we leapfrogs to mobile phones. The same can be said in the blockchain space as the same was said in the fintech space and mobile money payments. So I think from our aspect, we work a lot with masters, PhD and postdocs to commercialize their thesis topics, because when you're able to get that deep into research, you're actually able to develop foolproof applications, be they open source or commercial.
Great stuff, and we're looking forward to see what will come out of that as the years progresses. And again, I mean, people are asking themselves, what's in it for us? And whenever those questions are asked, I say there are great startups like yourself, Adam, that are already doing great work here. So it's not like it's still in the air, people are still dreaming. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the opportunities that exist for businesses, startups in this sector of the
Yeah, sure. I mean, Moments, the company I founded, is a good example. I mean, we started a year ago, and now we're a team of 20, building on blockchain technology. We focused on NFTs, and behind the hood, if you look at the actual smart contract side of it, it's not too complicated, but the use cases that have come out of NFTs for all our users and the businesses we're working with are absolutely amazing, and it's completely possible now. This whole fallacy that African companies cannot create blockchain technology and AI, I totally disagree with that. And I think we're innovating, if not more than actually most of the global competitors. If you looked at OpenSea and there's other NFT marketplaces across the world, we were the first marketplace in the world to offer free open minting, because we saw a massive issue that creating NFTs it was so expensive at one time. It was like $50 to $100 per NFT, and we just made it free because there was different blockchains available to kind of work off. So there's just a lot of opportunity, and I think what's really cool as well is that blockchain is a shared infrastructure. So you don't have to go and build a whole bunch of stuff. You can build a small smart contract and a small front end and have the most powerful business, right? Whereas in Web 2, it kind of sucked because you have to build the back end, which will have your payment rails and have all this complexity that you have to worry about, when actually it's just been built for you. And yes, there's downsides, like payments aren't instant. So if your solution needs to make payments like this, it's not really going to be the best scenario. But if you want more trust, I think there's so many unsolved problems in the trust space which we couldn't solve because we didn't have the technology. And what I think the most exciting time about now, and specifically in Africa, is that NFTs have kind of shown people what smart contracts can really do. And when you call a smart contract a thing, an NFT, right, and it's a standard that everyone can now use, now it's actually possible. Now it's in the mass adoption phase, and I think companies need to just take use cases that are all over the place, actually everywhere. I could probably name like 7 examples of what you can do. Maybe one example I'll give is that we're going to fractionalize YouTube video revenue streams. So for streamers, they don't need money in 5 years' time. They need money now. Right, so you can allow a fan to invest into a creator, providing an investment opportunity that you've never seen before, and at the same time, creators can get money up front. So that's one baby example. There's many, many, many more. So I think just solve a problem that blockchain, is the best technology for, and it's the time is right. And just one last thing I want to say about Africa, because I think it's really important, is that 30% of the NFT purchases have been in Africa. And I think people don't know that. Everyone's like, oh, it's this thing that's happening in Europe and America, but actually, Nigeria and South Africa are powerhouses in the NFT space and the blockchain space.
That's great, and it's really exciting, and we want to hear more about you guys, and that's probably one of the reasons why we have this discussion today. I just want to go back to this concept of using blockchain to deal with corruption, because I think the other gentleman mentioned that all governments are corrupt. Ian, do you want to talk about how can this be possible, that blockchain can be utilized to deal with this challenge? Do you want to just paint a picture for us?
Yeah, I think in essence, I follow quite a lot of people that see blockchain as a governance technology. But if you think about procurement, pricing, someone mentioned earlier today, to make it very practical from a medical services perspective, and also if you look at medical goods, to ensure the quality and to make sure that one person doesn't buy on behalf of everybody. And the other thing is that we make sure the best quality products at the best possible price. Think about what Adam said about the disintermediation, the decentralisation, the transparency. It means you can see I'm buying panados, and I'm getting it at, the government's getting it at 10 rand a box, and then the farmers see the government takes X taxes and levies. And then ultimately, if you want to provide medical services to people that really need it, or panados, and they pay 250 rands a box, that's the kind of transparency we're talking about. So the thing is here, when you use blockchain for good, or if you think about electricity, or you think about Eskom or any power, you can see exactly what money is spent on developing infrastructure. That's what governance brings. That's where transparency is vital. It will still protect individuals' identities, but you want to see what the money is spent on. So compared to old ledgers, I was a CFO my whole life. You've got different ledgers for everybody, and it gets audited independently. Here, you get it changes. I don't know if you guys know, it's probably very young people in the room, but the thing is, when I started working, two people had to sign a check. But there was lots of checks that was used to steal money, because only two people. But the thing about a blockchain, if you think about the consensus, you have lots of witnesses. So people also spoke about public-private companies working together, auditors, in real time. The other last point that I want to make is blockchain is the revolution. There's three revolutions, basically. You guys are all aware. It's the happening at the moment. It's mind versus machine. That's the machine learning. I'm going to get the last one wrong. And then it's product versus platform. We all focus on products, but the platform's becoming very, very important. And the last one is the individual versus the crowd. But the individual's not the right word. There's something else for it. But the thing is, the days of euros and people validating transactions 3 or 4 is over. If you have that kind of transparency and that kind of consent, lots of witnesses, the good thing is you will know exactly where money is spent. So quite a long explanation, but that's what the governance capabilities are.
That's amazing. And again, it's another great use case that I think we ought to move towards. And I think if I go back to the Reserve Bank example, is one platform that I think could take us there to some extent, and we're looking forward to see it be implemented beyond the study that's currently in place. Let's talk quickly for the next very, very few minutes about the future of blockchain in Africa. Where do you see, what do you see? I know you deal with academics, but from what you see, where is this going? Where will this take us?
There's lots of ways it's going. One thing is decentralized finance, obviously. Moving beyond just remittances as Africans to things like KYC, access to loans, etc., all on the blockchain. One other interesting topic we're dealing a lot with is decentralized autonomous organizations. Now given COVID-19, we've all been working remote. I know I'm a part of about 3 DAOs. So when I look at the growing youth population on the continent, all these skills, I'd love to see people contribute to 3 or 4 different DAOs simultaneously, building applications for the African continent. Because then when we look at all these DeFi protocols, they're all run by DAOs, and they're decentralized governance mechanisms that let people contribute and get tokens and vote on where the DAO should go. Kind of like a public company in a sense. So that's one thing that really excites me. If we could really get that right here on the African continent, see more DAOs, I think from a youth sort of contribution perspective, it would be beautiful.
It's a cool future. I'm also looking forward to that. Adam, do you want to maybe share what you see for the African continent in this space? What do you think we will likely to see in the very, very near future? Are we likely to see clothing of Africans as NFTs? And
I think in the near future, maybe I'll speak in my industry because I know a little bit more about it, but in NFTs, they can be, it's a very powerful fundraising tool, right? you get, we've been talking to a platform called Thunder Fund. I think a lot of you probably know about the largest fundraising platform in Africa. And one of the problems with like the fiat currency side of things is that when you're talking about, supporting a project, it's very hard to pay out, and like if people are pouring in money from all around the world, it kind of like, it's really, really hard. So, when you want to get investment for a project, whether it's in the informal sector where like, most banks don't even touch, you kind of want to proposition an investment vehicle that can pay people back. So it's, NFTs are a great example of that. And when I say NFTs, it's actually just smart contracts, but NFTs just make it's easier to understand. Yes. So you can essentially just create an NFT which propositions what you're trying to do, whatever investment vehicle. So it's like, I need a bucky. I don't need like a first-time one. I need like something. I'm in this township. This is my business. Whatever the case is, can anyone give me money, right? Yeah. And then basically someone can just invest directly there. And then the whole deal will be that that person has to continually add crypto into their wallet, and it'll be deducted every month. So now you don't have to go through all this like complicated process for such a small amount of money to give a business which banks aren't going to be as interested in. So what it can enable is like a lot of money pouring into places where people desperately need it. And people can take it into their own hands. So there's off ramps and on ramps for crypto, and they're starting to become stronger. Like Luno and Valor and some of these partners are just doing an amazing job at actually enabling this. And then there needs to be a whole bunch of companies actually similar to us that enable these awesome solutions that allow people to trade in crypto. And then when the whole thing is kind of done and they want to actually spend the money until 10 years' time, you need to get it back into fiat. So I think there's going to be a lot of like cool financial investment vehicles and solving like that funding problem in all the places around Africa. And that's kind of where we're tackling at the moment.
Cool. Great stuff. Now I would like to give the audience an opportunity to just maybe ask questions. Maybe there are a few things you'd like to get clarity on. All right, can we start with the lady in blue? Do you have a mic? I think you need. Do you want to maybe go to, there's a microphone just behind you. Yeah, sorry.
So, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but what I understand that cryptocurrency need a huge amount of energy. And I want to understand what the impact of that in our environment.
Sure, sustainability. Thank you for that. Do you want to quickly tackle that, or you want to take the next question?
Tackle it.
Okay,
Adam.
go for it.
Yeah, so this is the biggest misconception. There's a lot of proof of work, blockchains out there and proof of stake blockchains out there. Proof of stake generally it is a lot better, and Bitcoin is the kind of the last proof of work blockchain besides another one called Chia, and those generally are really, really bad for the environment. However, the whole world and all the blockchains are kind of shifting to a proof of stake consensus, and Ethereum's kind of upgrading their network as we speak to get rid of the cost. So the two heavy users right now is the Ethereum main chain and Bitcoin, but there's thousands of other blockchains actually out there that you can use. So for example, our company uses XDAI, which is a Ethereum-based sidechain. I know that sounds all crazy and complicated, but basically you just copy Ethereum, and now you can use it in the same way, except the fees aren't crazy and there aren't computers, chunking away, wasting electricity. So for example, transactions on our platform are 300 times more efficient than Visa. So it's like not true for the companies that care about it.
Yeah, it gets better with time. I think that's my view of these things. Do you want to, I don't know, next question?
Sure. Yep. Ian, you were probably my least favorite person. You're a banker talking about blockchain. But you warmed up on me. And not only that, you're probably about we are probably two oldest people here. Which brings me to my couple of things. Adam, you're going to need to sit down with me for a long time to explain to me what it is that you're talking about.
Sweet.
Okay, let's get to the question.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go with that. Anda, you got to keep teaching. When I came across the word blockchain, the immediate word, so that I can understand it, that came to me, the first word was traceability. Okay, that was in my days. We're talking about an object, whether it's a fruit or a piece of gold, a stone, whatever, where we try to figure out where it came from, what was the process that it went through, by the time it got to the general public. That to me was blockchain. And that's why, Adam, don't get me wrong, I mean, I have no idea this NF whatever and all these other things, like money and this and that, bankers, you will tell me. Right? And thank you, Ian, because some of the things I had mentioned was today our startups, I think, having spoken to pretty much all the winners.
So what's the
The
question?
first
You wanna
thing,
get
just a minute. The
Yeah, yeah.
first thing that comes to mind is, I'm talking about the startups. So the first thing that comes to their mind is not blockchain, right? That's the okay. I've seen that. My question is that I had questions about import, exports, and so on. What can we do to go from trust to acceptance to transparency?
Okay.
Because that's the biggest challenge I think that you have. That's my question.
All right.
Cool. Okay, so I'll give a quick my view. So what's essential is what I spoke about earlier, so awareness and education. But not education like we do it today, understanding. You must help people to help themselves. There are great examples. And what I heard this morning for me was fantastic in the medical space. And when I spoke to Adam and the guys, we must start learning by doing. The world should move towards like tradesmanship. And blockchain is what I've done for the last 5 years. No book in the world can teach you what you see. And nothing can convince people like if you show them what it does. And that's what I do these days. I don't go in and explain to people, this is how blockchain works, this is how distributed ledger technology works. It's to use examples in Namibia where we're working. Partnerships is vital. Collaboration is crucial. So that's another point that I want to make. People don't want to partner. People don't want to collaborate. So the biggest things that you need to teach, I'm teaching my kids as well. Don't reinvent the wheel. Talk to people. The technology's there. There's fantastic use cases. This morning when I listened, I just see lots of opportunities. But not all of the opportunities are going to make money for one person. It will make money for the community. And I think that moving forward in a world that's virtually destroyed, if you look at carbon credits, how people have claimed carbon credits in the past, there's just so many touch points where you need trust. I met a guy, Mitch, I don't know if he's here today, but he spoke about education where he rewards people and he brings lots of collaborators together. So if you think about the ecosystem strength of what a blockchain ecosystem could do, it can bring educators, funders, students together to enable people to utilize and to get access to fantastic education. And then they are rewarded in a way that makes sense for them for learning. So anyway, that's, I think, what we're trying to do at the bank is to bring lots of people together, to educate from the ground up and actually mobilize communities on ecosystems.
That's great.
Any other
Great
views?
stuff,
Yeah. I would maybe add two things.
Yeah.
Time is a huge factor. So I think we need to just be a little bit patient because it's going to take a lot of time for us to get to where we want to be. And then also good UX. So I think like the blockchain is just suffering from like, I mean, if you go sign up to any blockchain website today, or it's called dApps, decentralized applications, you like sign up for MetaMask, and you guys probably don't know what MetaMask is. Then you go from MetaMask, then you have to sign up for their app, then you sign up for their app, and then you have to buy cryptocurrency, and then you go to an exchange like Luna, you go buy cryptocurrency, but then you buy the wrong cryptocurrency, and then you're like, oh no. Now you've, so you've gone through this whole like terrible journey where, a lot of platforms to date, and what we're trying to do as well is just kind of make it simple. So you sign up, you generate the crypto wallet, it hides all the complexity in the background. So a lot of companies are going to have to pave that way and collaborate. I could not agree more. Stop fighting each other and actually just, like I would love to work with Luna, I'd like to work with other people. I don't want to compete with the other blockchain companies in Africa because we're all going to need to be talking together, using the decentralized technology to actually create the end goal, which is a more transparent, awesome society.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Last question.
My name is Abdul Fattah. I'm the co-founder of Emerge Blockchain. It's one of the first companies, but not heard about, that's been created in Africa. Since my first intake of Oxford University strategy program, I was the first African to take that program and follow it. The reason why I'm here is just to clarify the blockchain necessity, which is our first to say that blockchain is not here to save the world. It's a tool, and a tool that needs to be understood. And as the first speaker, was first question was, okay, all the governments are corrupt. It's true, and it's also false at the same time, because it's all starts from the society. I'm originally from Morocco. It's been here for 17 years. I understood the culture here, and the culture here is a bit non-progressive as we are, because we take education very serious, and everything that we hear about, we need to know about it all, basically from the start to the end. Therefore, my question is, we spoke about fintech, and everybody is speaking about fintech and cryptocurrency and stable coins, and all of that's wonderful, but we fail to understand the need of regulation. And regulation is where everything starts, where standards get created, and we follow all that standards. Therefore, my work is to simplify the blockchain, and I did through my ebook that I created called Simplified Blockchain, where my target was mainly the decision makers, and it was an individual process where people gone through, and some of the individuals were working for the European Commission, as well as some well-known banks. I'm not going to mention the names because it was a one-on-one kind of an approach which I took.
And the question?
My question is, what do you do as Standard Bank to create an ecosystem which is based on individuals that will take on the regulation needs? Because regulation requires a process, requires an ecosystem to speak to regulators and educate regulators in that way.
Sure. Thanks.
Wow,
I hope you
that's
got that. I think you can tackle it and then maybe take it over to the next
Yeah.
session.
So let's very quickly. So we've launched the BRI Africa to try and connect governments, governors, and leverage our footprint in Africa to bring people and businesses. We've partnered with CVVC. We're trying to partner with as many people as possible to create an ecosystem where people understand the regulatory requirements. Because a person said to me one day, Ian, blockchain's going to happen, doesn't matter what the banks do. I said, don't care about the banks, don't worry about the banks. Worry about the regulators. And they said, no. I said, don't underestimate the power of a regulator. So anything we do, we work with regulators. And that engagement model, where we work with a regulator across Africa, in BRI Africa, is going to enable people to understand, but also understand the regulatory standpoint. I've got a lot to say, but we don't have time. But the last point that I want to make, similar to any participant in blockchain, governments, the regulator said to us, they're not going to stifle innovation, but we need to engage with them. So what we're actively doing, wherever we can, we engage with regulators, and we do use cases with regulators to show them the transparency and the benefits that it's going to bring. Very short answer.
Yeah. No, but I'm sure you can talk after this as well. But yeah, it was great. Thanks. Everyone. I hope that was fun and informative. But this is an ongoing conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. That was amazing. And I think what is so phenomenal, Adam, thank you for highlighting that Nairobi and Cape Town are powerhouses in this space, and Standard Bank is one of the biggest banks, is the biggest bank on the continent, and we're leading the way going forward. So thanks very much, gentlemen.
Cool.